So good morning, everybody. We are here for the Northernlands 2 wrap-up event. As you may notice, I'm not Paul Connell. Paul has disappeared off on holiday, well-deserved break. So my name is Giles Dring. I'm Head of Delivery at ODI Leeds, and I will be chairing today's session. We've got with us Amy and Patrick, who are going to take us through the website and the assets and things that are still available for you to look at and engage with there. Then we'll have a bit of a chat with Lika from the Dutch Embassy about their viewpoint. Tom's going to give us a quick look through the ODI perspective, and then I've got a little bit of data analysis, this being the ODI leads. Then obviously we like to do a bit of data analysis, so I've got a bit of data analysis I want to share with you. There'll be an opportunity for you to to ask questions on the chat from the on the Northernlands live site. So drop your questions in there, and we'll monitor that and have an opportunity to engage there. And then finally, we'll say goodbye for Northernlands 2 and talk about our plans for the future. So without further ado, I will hand over to Patrick, I think, who is going to take us through the Northernlands 2 site.
Yeah, hi everyone. So for Northernlands, we wanted to do something unique. So we built quite a lot of custom tools that we're hoping to reuse for some events in the future. So I'm just going to share my screen. There you go. So this is the live page. I'm sure you've all seen this because you should be on it. And this is just a YouTube embed. We use YouTube to stream the videos, but for the actual talks, we used a custom player, which Stuart built completely from scratch, and he wrote captioning for every single video. It took a lot of time. And this is a custom chat feature, which I built. So we wanted people to be able to engage with us, but we thought it'd be too difficult to have everyone on a Zoom call after every single talk. So I built this chat using some Amazon Web Services functions, and all that is published on GitHub. So that's completely reusable components. You could take that and put it on your website, use it for a live event. The same with the player. All that code will be available openly. And the same with this. So this was our virtual attendees list. So at most of our events at ODI Leeds, we ask people to write their name, where they're from, and why they're here on a post-it note, stick it on our wall. It's just a really good way for us to keep track of who's coming to our events. So people can engage with each other, find out who's interested in the same things, and etc. So we wanted to kind of recreate that. So we made this virtual attendees list, and this is powered by a Google Sheet. So we asked everyone to put their name, where they're from, and if they wanted the Twitter into here, and that powers this. So we'll be publishing that openly too. The code does that. And you will have noticed on the day it's not here anymore. But there's also a timetable. We use that to power the countdown, which we'll have seen for every talk. So quite a lot of custom stuff. And we've also published all the talks. If you go to odileads.org/Northernlands2, there's a bit about the speakers, there's the agenda, and you can also find all of the talks. So we've created a page for every individual talk. If you go into one of these, you get the video. And there's also a full transcript, so you don't have to watch the whole video. You can just quickly read the transcript and get the key points. Giles has done some work using those transcripts that he's going to tell you about in a bit. And all these videos are on YouTube. So you can just go onto YouTube and watch them. So yeah, the idea was to have a custom event page and do something different to just a live stream and maybe a Zoom call afterwards. We wanted to engage with people using the chat. We also didn't get to use that much, but we had a link to Docs Plus. I don't know if anyone saw that. So if I go to Docs Plus, so this is a really cool feature. It was a bit of an experiment, really. We just wanted to try it out and see what happened. Newspeak House developed this, and basically it lets you chat to people using a Google document type thing. It's built on top of Etherpad, and you type something, turn it into a heading, and that creates a little chat room. So you can click on that video icon, and anyone can join that chat room, so you can have little conversations. And the idea behind that was to recreate when you're at a real event, you start talking to someone over coffee, those random encounters that you get, which actually end up being really interesting. So that was a bit of an experiment, and I think this is very much in an alpha stage. I'm not sure it got used that much, but really interested to see what happens in the future with that, and hopefully we can try and integrate it with more of our events. We're looking at doing more of our events online. So the events, even the events we hold at ODI Leeds, we're going to try and broadcast them and use that chat feature so that we can try and engage with a wider audience. As I said, everything on that page is completely reusable. So it's all open. You can take that and use it for your events. We'll be using it for ours and building upon that, and hopefully adding some new features. So yeah, that's it from me really. We'll pass over to Tom, who's going to tell you.
Hang on a second. I'll do the comparing, Patrick. No, that's brilliant stuff, Patrick. Really good little whistle-stop tour of the features. And yeah, as Patrick was saying, he and Stuart spent a lot of time getting that working, and during the day, on the day, getting things or keeping things running. So I mean, a big round of applause there for a virtual round of applause for the team that put that together. And there were some experiments in there that didn't work, and that's what happens with experiments. So I will come to Tom in a moment, but first I'd just like to bring in Lika from the Dutch Embassy to talk about their perspective and what they maybe why they decided to ask us to do this again, and what they kind of got out of it. So Lika, over to you.
Yes, hi, thanks. Well, to start with the last, why did we decide to do this again with you? That was, of course, because we had great experience with you guys in Northernlands 1, although that was live. But I think that worked really well, and we trusted you a lot to think like, okay, if we have to do something new and online, then why not do that again with OD Leeds? And in that respect, you haven't disappointed us. It worked really, really well. So we are really grateful and thankful for all that you do. The other thing, why did we want to do this with you, was that everybody is in a bubble. That is normally already so, that we are all living, certainly as an embassy, in this London bubble, which by the lockdown has been extremely worsened. So this was for us the opportunity to show again that there is much more than London in the UK. I personally find that extremely important. And I think it showed again, because a lot of the Dutch speakers that we asked to talk are also always looking only to London. And I think that we all have learned again from this event that there is so much happening outside London, and so much great stuff happening in parts of the UK. And I think it is really important that we focus more on that. Yeah, so I think it worked really well. The discussions were great. The speakers were great. It also showed us there's still a lot to do, and there is a lot of work where we can collaborate with the northern part of England in general, and with you guys too. And we certainly hope to keep that working together also from next year on, when it looks really, really that you are leaving the EU. Definitely, although you are actually out already, but then we'll really be gone. Yeah, but like we always say, we are North Sea neighbours, and as good neighbours should do, I think that we should certainly keep up the working together.
Fantastic. I was then struggling to find my mute button, so my apologies. This is the perils of live Zoom calls, isn't it?
Exactly.
So thanks, Lika. That's a really great perspective. Yeah, and we've really enjoyed working with you again on putting this conference together. So I'd like to hand over now to Tom, who's going to give the ODI perspective on what was spoken about during the conference. And yeah, over to you, Tom.
Excellent. Thank you, Giles. I'm just finding my notes here. So it took a few months to think about what we wanted to do for Northernlands 2. Amy, Patrick, Giles, and Paul did most of that, and I swanned around, you know, not doing a great deal, but then taking credit for some things, which is brilliant. That's the ambition of everyone, really, isn't it? So I wanted to go through the kind of things that we tried. I think Patrick showed them really well. And I would encourage anyone to have a look at actually how they work and think about where we could do better. And there is a feedback form, and we would love to hear from you, because I think one of the things that is really important is that this is like the first days of not real meetings. It's like a steam engine between Stockton and Darlington in the 1800s. It's stuff that just doesn't work because no one culturally understands how to do it. So we tried quite a few things that would overcome that problem. There was one thing that I think worked really well, which was live captioning of the videos. That's something that especially Stuart worked really hard on. Live captioning, I think, is important for accessibility, but it's also really important for discoverability, because you can search now anywhere on the website and find what was talked about in these videos. And that improves the ability for people to come back to the videos later and discuss them. Because I think that is probably the number one thing that's very different about events online and events in person. We often try to reproduce an in-person event online. You end up with a full day of things happening, but realistically, no one is going to stick around for the full day. But many of them will want to join for the parts that they're interested in, or come back at various times during the day. They also may want to look at things afterwards. So I think that the live captioning works extremely well. It's allowed us to have now a transcript site for all of the videos. I would say that machine learning of transcription is quite good now, but requires quite a lot of manual fixing. And of course, when you have the audio going through Zoom, and then a video editor, and then an audio transcribing machine, it doesn't work great. I think the virtual attendees wall was a nice idea. I think there's about 70 names on there, so it's worked pretty well, but we know that we had a lot more people attend than use the virtual attendees wall. When that's at ODI Leeds, it works really well because we could just make people write on a post-it note when they come in. We couldn't make anyone do anything on this. And that was a really big decision that we took right at the start, which was we didn't want to have an invite-only event. A lot of online events at the moment are invite only or registration only. We wanted people to register. That's good for us. We can contact them. We can check that they are not bad actors, but we also want people, anyone, to be able to watch and consume any of the content that we have. And that will be the case now. So the website now, anyone can use it. So the chat feature actually required quite a lot of work in order to enable that. And I think that chat feature works extremely well. So to have one chat feature that does both the Q&A and the chat is pretty important. There's some small UI fixes which Patrick made and Stuart made like in the first few hours, because we made quite a lot of fixes in the first few hours. We certainly learned a lot about live streaming video in the first few hours, but I don't want to bring up any awful memories for Amy about that. But the chat feature, I think, works really well. And one of the key things about that chat feature that's on the website now is we can kick you off. So it looks like you get to register however you type in a name. But if you start harassing anyone, you can be kicked off. So that bit of work, I think, was quite important to allow anybody to join in, no registering, no block to anyone, no time waiting for an email back with their code to join, but also the ability to get rid of people. I think probably the thing that works least well, and we have to improve on for next time, was this Docs Plus tool. So we're friends with the people at Etherpad, and this was an extension of Etherpad by people at Newspeak House. And the idea was that it would be like a Google Doc, but that you would also have chats in there. And the aim is to somehow online reproduce the meetings by chance that can occur in real life events, and the ability to have small discussions as breakouts from the main group. So these are hugely important. Something that works quite well at ODI Leeds, where we have a number of different rooms and spaces, but it's something that didn't really work for this event. So there weren't a huge number of users. One of the things that was most interesting to me for that was that we actually ran a session, and we deliberately had this session at the end of the event called Social Interaction in a Distant World. And we had some fantastic speakers in that. So Matt Clancy in the USA, who's done a huge amount on the future of work, whether distance work is possible or not. We had Tim Van Dorsen at Hack the Planet, who talked a lot about the social aspects of working together. And we had Amber Valraven in Arnhem, in the east of the Netherlands, talking about how technology could help in education. And what I think was common across those three discussions was that technology has not become culturally embedded for events and for education and for work yet. We are getting there. We have got better in the last few months, but clearly we are a long way from it being excellent. So I think that most of the things we tried worked really well. I think that we would really like to keep improving on this idea that we had with Docs Plus. I still think it's a good idea. We just need to help people to use it and make it socially acceptable to use it. And I think this is always a social and cultural thing. I was looking at the graphs of where people wear masks in public currently in Europe, and there's a huge cultural divide. It's not a divide due to masks. It's not a divide due to virus. It's just whether Italians and French people think it's fine and Dutch and English people don't. So there's clearly a big cultural element to all of these things, and we'll work on it. So last from me, we measure everything that we do at ODI Leeds. So we have some basic stats on what happened. We had over 300 people register for the event. We had 1,300 people come to the website on the first day, and that was 2,000 unique visitors by the end of the event. The real way that we expect the content to be consumed and the discussions to happen is now and into the next 3, 6, 9 months, because all of the content is on the web. It will start showing up in Google searches for people looking at technology for teacher training in the East Netherlands, right? It will come up because all of those things weren't mentioned. So that's where we hope to get really significant additional impact. There is one mistake that we've made, which we will now fix, which is that the way we are embedding the YouTube feed in our websites does not contribute to the view account because we didn't set the cookies right or something. So we'll definitely fix that. We did have a big panic at the start of the event. I think I saw Patrick on the little chat we have going, says, everyone, there's only 3 people watching the video. And of course, that was because we were looking at the YouTube analytics for the video, but the YouTube analytics doesn't show us people who are watching live on our website. So we're going to do the work to fix that. But I think those were the only 2 things that really need a bit of work. We'll already fix the YouTube one. And we'd welcome really anybody who's anybody who thinks they fixed the problem, the only problem that we really can't fix, which is the value of offline discussions and informal discussions at events, because we still think that that was something we didn't get as much value from as we'd like. So that's my thoughts on it all. I think it was really well done by especially the technical team, which is mostly Patrick, Amy and Giles. I particularly like Giles's soundtrack. That was something that we were told straight from the start. If you use music that even vaguely might be copyrighted, your video will be taken down from YouTube very quickly. So we had to have a custom soundtrack, and that was very good. And you can, of course, listen to that. That's online, isn't it, Giles? I'll hand back to Giles now to promote his own soundtrack.
Well, I mean, thanks, Tom. It's very kind. I just mentioned Stuart in that tech team as well. His contribution was massive, particularly as I think you said, the closed captioning. The soundtrack not yet available to buy in the shops, no, but I think we'll maybe consider some limited release of that somewhere appropriate. But yes, that was a fun thing to do on an afternoon. So thanks, Tom. Yeah, really great. Sort of review of what we were trying to achieve in the conference, and a sort of an honest appraisal of how I think we did. One of the things that there's been a little bit of chat about, actually, that I've been responding to George on the chat, is about what we can do with the transcriptions that Tom mentioned, and the fact that those are searchable. I'm just going to quickly share with you some early analysis I've started doing on those. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Some early analysis I've been attempting to do. If I find the right one, that's the fella. Buttons off the bottom of the screen. So hopefully now you can see my Jupyter notebook, where I've started to do some Python-based analysis of the text there. So I'll skip through this top bit, but my intention, by the way, is to share this because we like to do things openly, and one of the key messages of the entire conference, I think, was keep doing stuff openly and share things. So this will definitely be on the ODI Elite's GitHub repo, and I shall also blog about it. But I just really wanted to quickly share with you some of the word clouds that came out of the summary. So here is the word cloud of the first session, Open Data Saves Lives. What I've done is I've taken the transcripts for all sessions within Open Data Saves Lives and word clouded those. So a few things jump out of that. Standards, the importance of standards was something that was mentioned at great length. And different was a word that people use quite a lot, because clearly the situation is different, and we're trying to do things differently. Other words that I thought were kind of important. About sharing openly, yeah. So share sort of appears quite large at the bottom there, and what's really intriguing, and you'll see there's a common theme all the way through, is people. People talking about people all the way through. So that was kind of good. But it just gives you a sense of some of the words that were used frequently. I'd hoped to actually do some topic extraction, but I think probably the data set is a little bit too small. It tends to say you've either got one topic or 400, so which tends to suggest to me that there's not enough to go on. But I'm going to try and tune that a bit and see if I can try some different approaches, and I'll obviously share that via the ODI Lead site as I find things out. So just to reiterate what I think Paul said at the end of the Open Data Saves Lives session, we will be continuing with our Open Data Saves Lives work and pushing it forward from August, and we'd love you to get involved in that. We think it's a really important thing that obviously has been very important this year, and there will be opportunities for us to collaborate on that. So then looking down to the next topic, which handily enough is responsible data collaboration, the topics that sort of leap out from that word cloud, again, people, important in everything, but there's the combination of government research and technology, citizens, so that collaboration between all different parts of society. And a word that I picked up, and now I can't find, of course, was infrastructure. It's definitely on there somewhere because I wrote it down. It's disappeared. But yeah, the investment in infrastructure required to get that collaboration working well. So that's what I picked out from there. And then the third session, mobility in modern cities. As Tom is very keen to say, we love buses at ODI Leeds, and it's very pleasing to see bus so front and top in this particular rendering. But clearly, the importance of cities and the fact that cities are going to need to think very differently about how they manage transport. And clearly, there's investment in infrastructure there, probably a different kind of infrastructure to what was coming up before. Accessibility, and I picked up things around innovation and the like coming out of there. Like I've written these all down and I can't find them. It's just obviously looking through different glasses today. And then finally, this is my favourite one because it almost tells the story just in the word cloud itself. So social interaction in a distance world. So how do you find remote workers? And start studying in the city. So you can almost make sentences just out of the words that leap out at you. But again, the importance of cities and home as sort of almost like different places. So cities, people gathering together, and home being where we find ourselves, and the fact that we're going to need to be a lot more fluid in there. I thought there were some really, really interesting topics which Tom has already alluded to. The final piece of analysis is just taking everything from the entire conference and pushing that through the same process. And yet again, that concept of people being at the core of this is why we do all this stuff. It's really great to see that was such a critical thing. And I thought one of the key things that kept coming up was the opportunity we have presented by the current situation. Tom's alluded to it already in his discussion, and Lika also. But the opportunity we've got to do things differently, and we need to grab that opportunity now and think very carefully and come up with innovative ways to make things better, which will, quite aside from lockdown, that will retain or will remain useful. I've also plotted some other things. I've been doing a bit more digging. So my favourite bit here is these diagrams, so combinations of words, and obviously people are very keen on talking about next year. I can't imagine why that would be. So yeah, just some brief analysis. But what I'm going to try and do is do a little bit more digging on this and see if we can extract some useful stuff from it. The other thing I really wanted to quickly share with you was the current feedback we've had from you, the attendees. I'll reload it. We've had 10 responses so far. This will remain open, and we'll obviously use this to feed into our planning for future events. So your feedback is absolutely valued, and I think that echoes what we sort of felt went well on the day, and the things that we thought maybe we could do a bit more work on. So clearly, a lot of people saying that they use the live stream via the website and the chat equally. This is attendee post-it notes, so people use that quite a lot. Features they found most valuable. YouTube replay seem to be coming out ahead at the moment, but I'd say that's sort of still quite early days. And then we were really keen on what it is, keen to work out what it is we should turn into reusable assets, and clearly the YouTube player seems to be the favourite at the moment. And then again, just some general feedback. This is really valuable to us because it gives us a sense of how things were for you. We really missed that. Tom's already said it. We miss that immediate feedback we get from a conference when you can see people, slumping or being really excited, and you can sort of sense the mood in the room. And that feedback loop was really important to us. So we need to think about ways to get that better. But this is a really great way for you to give us that feedback. So that's the quick spin through the analysis that I've done on things and my view. I think that sort of more or less brings us to the end of sessions we wanted to talk about. I'm just going to have a quick look at the live chat to see if there's anything else that's come up. I'm just trying to scan here. So yeah, George, thanks. I think a large part of that is getting attendees to used to using a chat feature. I think Patrick, there's some feedback for you in terms of the Google Sheet from Martin. Thank you for that. I don't know that there are any questions to answer. I'm just trying to scan and see quickly, and this is probably not the most compelling thing to watch somebody do. So I'll maybe draw that to a close. And I'm just going to say we're already talking with Lika and the embassy about whether we can do something again. We've loved doing this conference in both its sort of guises, both the physical and the virtual conference we've run this year, and we'd love to carry on that relationship. So watch this space. We can't really say more than that at the moment, but we think there's a really important set of links and bonds that are being forged there. So I'm just going to really draw this to a close now and say please keep in touch with us, as well as Tom's badge says. You can't see him because he's not speaking at the moment. But yeah, keep in touch with the Dutch. There we go. Keep in touch with the Dutch. Keep in touch with ODI Leads. You can get in touch with us via our homepage. So please, all of our contact details are on there. We do Twitter. We do emails. All the information's there. We would love to hear from you. And thank you very much for joining this really brief wrap-up session for Northernlands 2. And I will say a goodbye for now, and have a great weekend.
Thanks again, and goodbye from us too.
Oh yeah, thanks, Lika.